Welcome to the PharmaSource podcast.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the PharmaSource podcast and a special edition today with Christiane Walker, Product Development Team Lead at Intelsius. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks very much for having me. So
to start with, maybe you can just give us a bit of an introduction to you and also to Intelsius as a business, please.
So I'm Christiane Walker. I've been with Intelsius for 4 years. I'm the product development team lead here, and I currently manage a cross-functional team based out of York. We design, develop, and launch innovative and sustainable packaging solutions. A bit more about Intelsius. Intelsius was set up in 1998 to address the BSE outbreak. We developed a custom packaging solution to compliantly transport samples suspected of containing the BSE or mad cow disease. And so within a year, the DGB group, as it was called at the time, became the first UN certified BSE sample shipper in the world. And sort of 25 years later, Intelsius are leaders in temperature controlled and sample transport packaging. We have sites globally, so that includes the UK, which is our headquarters, Germany, the US, and Asia.
Thank you. I hadn't realised the origin of the story, so thank you for putting that into context. And obviously, congratulations on so much progress over that period of time to where you are as a company now. Christiane, tell us a bit more about why a robust and transparent cold chain is so critical for the pharma industry.
So a robust and transparent cold chain is critical for the pharmaceutical industry for several reasons. Firstly, a robust system is really ensuring that the efficacy and safety of temperature-sensitive products to prevent spoilage. This is really directly impacting patient safety and can lead to significant financial losses. It also supports a regulatory compliance with agencies such as the FDA, EMA, WHO, and enables a consistent performance across very diverse global climates and logistics infrastructures. That's something we really see with customers. Additionally, it really strengthens public health response capabilities. We really saw this with the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, for example. On the other hand, a transparent cold chain really enhances traceability and accountability, while data-driven transparency allows for better decision-making. So it really now enables customers to map, predict, and optimize throughout their supply chain.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. What trends in the pharmaceutical industry are driving the need for new technologies and services, and which specific ones do you see as most essential and why?
So there are many evolving trends in the pharmaceutical industry, which are driving the need for new technologies and services. So if we just sort of list off a few, personalized and precision medicines, decentralized clinical trials, and the growing use of automation and AI. But today I'm really going to focus on two in particular. So first is sustainability and the circular economy, which includes solutions like recyclable and multi-use packaging, as well as things like rental models that really help reduce waste and increase cold chain flexibility. And secondly is the rise of digital supply chains, which provide a much more robust digital chain of custody. It's this data that's supporting customers with better decision making, such as preventing temperature excursions and even using predictive modeling to build more sustainable, cost-efficient future supply chains.
Focusing on sustainability, which has been a topic we've talked a fair bit about on the PharmaSource podcast, what are the key trends developing around sustainability, particularly focused on the pharmaceutical cold chain?
When it comes to sustainability in the pharmaceutical cold chain, there are several key trends emerging, and they're very similar key trends to other industries. One major shift that we've seen is towards 100% recyclable components. So, for example, we might be replacing expanded polystyrene, EPS, with fully recyclable alternatives and really reducing plastic use overall. We've really seen this as being largely driven by global carbon reduction goals that we see across every industry, as we've discussed, that are now embedded in national policies and very industry-specific ESG targets. So things like plastic tax, as an example. Another significant trend is the move towards reusable packaging. So simply put, it's products designed to last beyond single use. So things like our VIP-based Orca multi-use packaging, which lasts at least 5 years, they help keep materials in circulation for longer and really significantly reduce a customer's carbon footprint compared to single-use options. And finally, we're really sort of kind of linked to this multi-use model. We're seeing rental models replacing traditional purchase models. This approach helps customers minimize their stock holding, lowers their costs, and reduces waste. It allows them to scale up and down with demand and return the packaging for cleaning and refurbishment. And the really good thing about this is it can extend a product life cycle, which is really at the heart of circular sustainability principles.
That makes perfect sense. Tell us a bit more about the theme around reusable packaging. What are the main benefits of using reusable packaging in the pharma cold chain logistics, especially regarding long-term carbon reduction?
So I sort of touched on this earlier. The principle of reusable versus single-use packaging is something we're seeing across all industries, in everyday life. And it's the same concept that's applying to cold chain packaging. It's about keeping materials in supply chains for longer. So for example, we've done third-party product lifecycle analysis that shows that our VIP-based Orca multi-use system has a cradle grave carbon footprint of about 46 kilograms of CO2, which is compared to just 16 kilograms of CO2 for a single-use EPS-based system. But when you start thinking about this over 5 years, the Orca multi-use is designed to last 5 years, so it will surpass the single-use option in carbon efficiency after just 3 uses. And that anything after that is just an improvement.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What about cost benefits?
So it's quite clear to understand reusable systems do come with higher initial investment, but that cost is spread over multiple shipments over a 5-year period, which makes the per use cost significantly lower than a single-use alternative. Additionally, things like high performance solutions that you can have with multi-use solutions, so vacuum insulated panels, high performance phase change materials can really lead to longer term cost savings by optimizing that volumetric weight and shipping. But to be honest, the choice between single use, multi use, and rental really depends on what you're shipping and how often. So single use packaging still has a role to play, particularly for things like small labs with occasional temperature controlled shipping needs, one-off projects, remote locations, or even areas where return logistics are really challenging and will remain challenging for a while. In those cases, we'd always recommend using a sort of fully recyclable single-use system like green therm or even renting packaging. So that allows you to meet short-term or really irregular demand.
Can you tell us a bit more about how the rental models fit into this wider picture?
Yeah, of course. So rental models for temperature controlled packaging are becoming increasingly popular, and that's for good reason. They offer many benefits. So they offer customers flexibility, as we've discussed earlier. They allow them to scale up or down in response to really changing demands without the need for any significant stock holding. Um, Rentals also really give access to a wide variety of packaging, so different types, different sizes, and different features as needed. So you don't have to have a huge fleet of packaging solutions. And all of this comes with a lower upfront cost thanks to sort of a pay-per-use model. And there's also a real strong sustainability benefit. Rental systems are built around circular economy principles, keeping materials in the supply chain for longer and really out of landfill. When packaging is returned, it's refurbished, it's reused, and it really removes the responsibility from customers to clean, maintain, or even manage that end of life disposal. And finally, as we'll discuss throughout this, compliance and support really play a major role. Rental providers typically handle a lot of the preconditioning and the maintenance,
Mhm.
and this ensures that regulatory compliance and that real performance reliability. And customers can benefit from a real hands-on support, which is tailored to each shipment.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into performance and quality. So, can you tell us a bit more about recyclable solutions, reducing plastic, and ensuring that performance and quality is maintained without traditional component materials being used in cold chain packaging?
It's really one of the biggest challenges in developing more sustainable cold chain packaging is maintaining that critical performance and compliance standards. So I'll actually take an example outside of cold chain. So in primary and secondary sample transport packaging, com completely removing plastic isn't feasible without compromising dangerous goods compliance and safety. So single-use plastics will remain essential, but we can still improve. So if we talk about reducing overall plastic use, incorporating recycled content, and really making it easier for users to separate those materials for proper disposal and even recycling at the end of life. If we talk about cold chain packaging more broadly, though, materials like expanded polystyrene are widely used, and for good reason. They're high performance, they're low cost, they're lightweight. And the challenge really lies in finding a recyclable alternative that matches these benefits without resorting to greenwashing. There are many so-called green materials out on the market which still contain a really high plastic content or even labeled as compostable, but they can only be processed in a handful of very specialist composting facilities. Intelsius, for example, have developed green therm, which is 100% recyclable in paper-based waste streams. Something we saw as really critical, making that end of life easier for the end user. Um, and it still offers over 96 hours of protection for temperature-sensitive dry ice payloads because you still have to have that performance, you have to have that compliance, and you have to offer that protection for customers.
Okay. So moving away from packaging components and purchase versus rental models, can you talk to us a little bit more about digital supply chains? What are the key trends that you're seeing here, and how are these trends impacting pharmaceutical cold chains?
So, a key trend in digital supply chains is that move towards fully connected and integrated device networks. We're really seeing a rise in the use of multi-use connected data loggers. And this isn't just in single shipments, so in single packages, but it's embedded across the entire logistics network. So if you talk about warehouses, you talk about transport vehicles, storage equipment, it's enabling real-time data visibility and alerts at every stage of the cold chain. It's this increased data visibility that needs to be supported by cloud-based systems. So systems like Orca Cloud, which manage data from networks of devices and thousands of shipments. We know we're going to have an increased volume of data, and cloud systems are really going to be critical to managing data quickly and easily. So setting up things like alerts, cloud storage, and even customizing how you report that data. If we talk about how this worked traditionally, temperature loggers have always been single-use plug-in devices, USB devices, that only really provide post-shipment validation. This process is quite labor intensive, so you have to do the data collection, and it really only allows for you to be reactive to specific instances based on sort of random sampling of individual shipments. Uh, Kind of as we've discussed before with the multi-use versus single-use, there is still going to be a place for these single-use devices. If we talk about things like remote areas without return logistics, but generally we are moving towards a more proactive networked approach. So if we're talking about connected systems that allow pharmaceutical companies to anticipate issues, improve supply chain resilience, and really ensure that end-to-end compliance more effectively than ever before.
Thank you. Can you expand on how connected supply chains can reduce costs and carbon footprints?
Yep. So continuous temperature monitoring allows customers to respond pretty immediately to temperature excursions. And this is helps them to reduce product waste. So you won't need that repeat shipment. Also, these devices, they're collecting a lot more types of data. So where previously logger devices might have just collected temperature data, things like location tracking really helps avoid lost shipments. And both of these things really lead to significant cost and carbon savings. On the other hand, for things like dry ice shipments without live temperature data, customers often have to add extra dry ice as a precaution, based on a really like a worst case validated scenario. So think about the most extreme summer day. But on a cooler day, this might not actually be required. but you have to work off that pre-validation. Live temperature data really enables dry ice topping up only when truly needed, and that really lowers carbon emissions. Connected device networks, as well as we've discussed, they're in equipment, they're in warehouses, they're in packaging. This can also significantly cut costs by streamlining failure detection. So instead of a lengthy investigation, customers can very quickly pinpoint issues. So as an example, you know there's a failure somewhere in your cold chain, and you can very quickly identify that a freezer has failed, as an example. And this really allows for faster resolution and really minimizes disruption. And sort of longer term, these connected networks are really providing valuable data that helps customers optimize their logistics routes and processes. So allows customers to pick the most cost-effective and sustainable routes.
Thank you. Christiane, a fairly common theme topic nowadays, really around robust supply chains. If we think about that context, what regulatory advantages do connected supply chains offer?
So firstly, continuous validation really improves accuracy by moving beyond theoretical shipping conditions. So if we talk about traditional packaging validation, it has to be based around a simulated condition that doesn't really capture real world factors. So if you talk about things like unexpected delays, times when packages might be have a prolonged exposure to the sun or unexpected weather conditions, it's this gap that can really lead to uncertainty around payload integrity. And there's a lot of potential regulatory challenges if shipments are accepted based on less rigorous pre-validation. But also conversely, it can also cause unnecessary waste when we have more conservative time and temperature limits that are applied based on pre-validation, despite actual conditions being a lot less severe and packaging performing a lot better than expected. Secondly, shipping lane mapping. So if we're talking about long-term data collection, long-term connected networks really allow customers to gather real-life ambient environment data across all of their logistics routes. And this data enables customers to create customized pre-validation profiles based on their specific real-life shipping conditions. And when you are developing packaging, you can have more accurate and more reliable packaging validation. And really, also long term, finally, all this information is digitally stored. So you've got years and years of data storage, and this provides a real comprehensive failure analysis and audit trails. So long term, quality assurance is very important for customers. It helps them to identify weak points in the supply chain and really facilitates any regulatory investigations when needed.
You mentioned cloud technology. Can you briefly explain how that interacts with this trend and how it adds value to customers in the pharma space?
Yeah, so as more pharmaceutical companies are adopting connected devices across their logistics networks, cloud technology is going to play a key role by providing a centralized platform with live visibility across shipments, sites, vehicles, and equipment. These platforms allow users to set customized alerts for thousands of shipments, and really streamlines that validation reporting and quality management. It also supports this proactive approach we've been discussing. So to help identify and resolve issues in real time and improve efficiency and compliance. But we have also seen that it's not as easy as we might think, that these devices are developing very rapidly, and there's a very wide range of connected devices. It's not really an industry standard logger device. And individual customers, even by themselves, might have a fleet of different devices from different manufacturers based on their requirements. So platforms such as Orca Cloud offer flexible visibility of things like temperature, humidity, location, other data, but not just from one device, not locked into one device, but from many different devices on a single platform. You really have to be able to take all of that data in, not require customers to replace their whole fleet of logger devices just to be able to use cloud systems.
Thank you very much for a very detailed walkthrough in terms of what Intelsius does and what you focus on and some of the real key trends in the market. A couple of final questions just to finish with and zoom out a little bit and think a bit more about the longer term and what the market might look like. How do you envision the pharmaceutical supply chain may look in the next 5 years, and which technologies and services do you think will transform the way pharmaceutical products are transported and why?
So over the next 5 years, we've sort of discussed this. We expect to see significant growth and investment in sustainable and connected cold chain packaging. The industry is already steadily moving towards greener solutions and smarter technologies. This is not just to improve performance, but also to, as we discussed, to meet those tightening regulatory and ESG requirements. And we are seeing that companies are starting to future-proof their operations. So we've developed solutions to prepare for this demand. So things like Green Therm for fully recyclable packaging, Orca Cloud for end-to-end digital visibility. And this shift is really about readiness. We know, as we've discussed, not all customers are going to go at the same pace. They're not all going to move towards the sustainability and connection trends at the same pace. So we're building the infrastructure now to ensure compliance, resilience, and efficiency in those supply chains of tomorrow.
Makes a lot of sense. And obviously, there's been a lot of development in this sector over recent years, and it feels like there's a lot to come if we look forward 5 years.
Yeah.
And clearly, the whole concepts of green and connected are clearly integral to the future of pharmaceutical cold chains. It's been a real pleasure talking with you today and finding out more about this topic and this market segment. Any last words you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, it's been great to talk to you, and thanks for having me. Probably just to sort of say, sustainability isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about making smarter, more cost-effective decisions that are really building stronger, more reliable supply chains. And at the heart of it all is really all that data that's behind it.
Christiane, thanks again for your time today and for your insights. Really enjoyed talking with you on the PharmaSource podcast, and we look forward to hearing from you again. Thank you ever so much.
Thanks.